Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. So we talked about lambdas yesterday. So we understand lambdas are functions, essentially a piece of code that you write and deploy to deploy to cloud, and you don't have to worry about the underlying servers. It automatically takes care of it. It takes care of availability, it takes care of scalability, and you don't have to worry about servers at all. So we talked about it. We talked about how many runtime environments that AWS supports. We played with a little bit using Node.js, and then we switched to Java and then did some good examples. So as part of Lambdas, I talked about a couple of use cases. So Lambdas are excellent for implementing event-driven architecture. And also, you may be thinking that lambdas are good for just event-driven. May not be so appropriate for mobile-based apps or web-based apps. But you're wrong. You don't have to pay for the servers 24/7. Pay for the compute that use it. So as I told you yesterday, lambdas are charged at sub-second billing. Every 100 milliseconds they charge it. So if you use it across the 24 hours, if you use it 500 milliseconds, then that's what you're paying for. So it's very cheap. You don't have to pay for the complete EC2 instances. So you may be thinking that it's only used for typical event-driven architecture side when there is a function out there. When an event, when something happens, when an event gets triggered, then I can make a call to that. Or we talked about classic triggering events like S3 bucket. So we dropped a file in S3, it automatically triggered Lambda. We associated the Lambda with the S3 triggering. So we saw that. But it's not just that. You will be able to deploy serverless web applications, deploy serverless APIs, deploy serverless mobile backend. You will be able to do that complete serverless using lambdas and by incorporating this concept called API Gateway. So API Gateway concept alone has got nothing to do with AWS, by the way. So there's a concept called API Gateway. It's been there for some time. Essentially, API Gateway is nothing but it's a way to manage all of your APIs. So it's a front gate for all the APIs, and it manages your APIs. So let's say you have 100 APIs across let's say 100 microservices. You have a person API, you have address API, you have you have your products API, you have your items API, you have your shopping cart API. All these are microservices. So you have 100 microservices, and you exposed several RESTful endpoints through these 100 microservices. Now, how do you manage these 100 microservices? Let's say if you're an API-based company, you don't have to be an exclusive API-based company. Let's say you are providing APIs, let's say weather APIs to several different clients. So how do you manage the clients? How do you manage these the cost-cutting concerns like authentication and authorization? Let's say you want to implement OAuth across all the 100 APIs, across all 100 microservices. There's no point in putting this authentication and the authorization code across all these 100 microservices. Rather, you want that to be handled somewhere else. That is API Gateway. So API Gateway will act as a proxy for all of your APIs at the runtime. It takes the request, applies some authentication, authorization policies based on how you define it, and then forward the request to your real microservice. Or in most of the API gateway terms, they call it target. So there are two terminologies here. One is proxy, the other one is target. Gateway will act as a proxy, meaning it takes the request, massages it if you need to. It can definitely, you can massage the request, or on the way back, you can massage the response. You can apply your authentication authorization principles and forwards the request to your target. Target is the one that has a real brain. It will go to the database, get the data or whatever it needs to do it, and give it back to proxy. Proxy will give it back to the end client. So this one spot, the one I gave you just now is a runtime picture. But at the development time, developers use this API gateway to manage all the APIs. So this is where you can provision new clients. Let's say you have 10 clients for your APIs. You want to add 11th one. You can add it. You can add the 11th client, and you can add the appropriate authentication realm to it. Let's say you want to use OAuth or OpenID Connect. So you can configure that with few clicks. So you can manage the authentication and authorization. And also, the beauty is you will be able to manage the versioning beautifully. Let's say you have an API called Pet Store API. Okay, let's say you have a microservice called Pet Store. And then you have a Pet Store API. So you have a Pet Store API version 1. Now you want to release version 2. And you don't want to make it a 4-hour deployment window. You want to bring down the existing API and bring it up. That's a very old school way of deploying things, right? So what can you do? Well, what you want to do is you have your version 1. Now you want to deploy your Pet Store version 2 out there. And then provide an exclusive version 2 API URL through API Gateway. So, and give choice to your customers. So customers can use either version 1 and version 2, and then have them migrate slowly to version 2, and then say, from this point onwards, version 1 will be deprecated. It will not be supported anymore. So versioning is an important factor in the whole API management. Managing the clients, versioning, authentication, authorization, and the complete metrics if you want to get it. In my previous life, we just until last year. So I was working for an API company, and we use this API gateway called AppG.
Hello, Vengat?
Yes.
Are you sharing any slides?
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just talking right now. So API Gateway, there's a company called AppG. It was bought by Google now. In a couple of years back, it was bought by Google. So that gives a complete dashboard of what's the real traffic look like. On a snowy day, we used to get 4 or 5 million requests per hour to our API traffic. We used to be able to live monitor it, so you can actually trace some of the requests if you want to, and you deploy your policies. You can write your JavaScript code, so you can do a lot of things with that. So it's essentially API management. So there are a lot of powerful API gateways out there, like AppG, like CA's Layer 7 is one of the tools. AppG is another tool. Okay, and IBM has a tool. Okay, it's called Data Power, if I'm not wrong. So anyway, the concept of API Gateway has been there for some time, and AWS has it's not as feature rich as other other real API gateways like Apigee and Layer 7. But they provide, to an extent, they provide API management, and that's AWS API Gateway. So what API Gateway, once you bring API Gateway into the mix, the beauty is that now you have your microservice in the form of your Lambda function. So let's say you have your weather API. Yesterday we created one Lambda to update the data into the database table. So whenever we get the new data, our analyst will upload into S3 bucket. Our Lambda gets triggered. It will automatically parse the data and store it into relational database or non-relational database. Not a big deal. Now you have a different Lambda. This Lambda will take a zip code. This function takes a zip code as an argument, and then it will give you back the temperature. Now this Lambda can be used for your API. Now use this AWS API Gateway, have AWS API Gateway sit as a front gate. So have this guy take the request, and this guy will trigger Lambda and pass the zip code to Lambda function. And Lambda function's responsibility is to connect to database and query the data based on the zip code. It gets the temperature and give it back to API Gateway. And if you need to, you can massage the data and API Gateway and give it back to the end client. So the combination of API Gateway and Lambda essentially brings out the possibilities of serverless API. And imagine you have a client, you have your static Angular-based app. So let's say you have an Angular-based app. You have your skeleton, just HTML, CSS, JavaScript stuff that you deploy into S3 bucket and made it a static website hosting. And now when you click on some buttons there for all the dynamism stuff, so your static website will make an API call through API Gateway, and API Gateway will trigger your Lambda, and Lambda will go to the database, get the data or save the data, whatever it needs to do it, and give it back to the API Gateway. API give it back to your website. Is that not your serverless web application? And same case with the mobile app, mobile backend. So you have your mobile app in your iPhone or Android, and then it makes an API. When you make an API call, it goes to the API Gateway. API Gateway will trigger Lambda. Lambda will go to the database, either fetches or saves the data and give it back to the API Gateway. The API Gateway will give it back to your mobile client. No servers involved. You don't have to worry about the servers. And you're only paying for the compute that you are using it for. I'm going to show you exactly like how I described it. So let's deep dive into it. So it's a fully managed service that enables developers to create, publish, maintain, monitor, and secure APIs at any scale. So you'll be able to, I'm going to show you how to create it, how to publish it. When you publish it, you can create different stages. So you can create an API for your dev, you can create an API for your QA, you can create an API for your prod and keep it ready. And you'll be able to monitor it, secure it. And API Gateway, don't think that it will only interact with the Lambdas or there's some connection between API Gateway and Lambdas. Not really, no. So it can interact with several integrations like Lambda, EC2. Absolutely, you can have your actual microservice sitting in an EC2 instance and have API Gateway point to that EC2. Your EC2 instance, whatever the application running in an EC2 instance will fetch the data or save the data and give it back to API Gateway. So it's absolutely possible. So the benefits of API Gateway, in general, nothing to do with AWS API Gateway. It's any API Gateway. It's supposed to do all of these things. It does traffic management. Oh, by the way, when you provision a new client in API Gateway, there's a concept of provisioning a new clients. And you can throttle it so that they don't bring down your servers if at all you are sort of old school and not auto scaling, not serverless. Okay. So you can throttle it. So each customer can only call 40 concurrent requests. And let's say I have 100 customers, 100 times 40, 4,000. So you can manage them. So you can throttle your requests also at the front gate itself. So that's a traffic management, and of course authorization and access control. A lot of API gateways comes with this the standard authentication and authorization stuff like WAUth 2, OpenID Connect, SAML integration, all of that. Okay. Of course, you can monitor, you can real time, you can pretty much trace the real time also. And the API version management, yes. In API management, versioning is one of the biggest concepts. So you can manage. So it's as I was saying, you can deploy version 1 there, one microservice, and have this V2 always running. Have both of them running, and then give choice to your customers. That's one way to do it. Or have a V2, have version 2 deployed, have it deployed, and then but give a different API like a /v2 or something. Okay, and then on the deployment time, so whenever you are ready to switch the main API, let's say /weather /zip code. Okay, let's say my V2 is /v2 /weather /zip code. So whenever I'm ready to switch my V2 to real, then I'm using blue-green deployment technique. So I'll just log into API management console and then switch it. That's it. It's a one simple blip. Your customers will not even know that there was a deployment happen. Fraction of a second. So throttling requests can happen to prevent attacks, your DDoS attacks and other attacks. So those are the benefits of your API management. So every time we talk about API management and API gateway, so let's step back and talk about some of the API concepts itself, especially the whole REST taxonomy. I'm talking about REST APIs here. So let's talk about some jargon. Your API means it's a collection of resources and methods. I'm hoping you guys know what a resource is. If not, I'll explain, not a big deal. Your resource is, it's your noun in your resource-oriented architecture. So if you're not familiar with ROA, I highly recommend you read about resource-oriented architecture. So I'll give you a small anecdote here. So Roy Fielding, he's the HTTP spec author. When he wrote the HTTP spec as part of his thesis, a couple of decades back. So he kind of, he was thinking about the resource-oriented architecture. He kept that in mind. And then he came up with these different methods like HTTP get, put, post, delete, these kind of methods, right? So that's why he provided various, so he was thinking that probably people would use HTTP get to get some stuff stuff from server. Probably he was thinking that they'll use post to create new stuff, put to update, delete to delete it. But then industry has understood his thesis and the whole HTTP spec in a different way. So that's why the whole concept of SOAP-based web services came in. In the SOAP-based web services, if you really observe it, there is no HTTP get. There is no concept of this whole taxonomy. It's even if you want to get something from server, you have to use HTTP post. And the whole your XML, SOAP encoding, all of that mess, right? So then he actually wrote an article later, and then in fact he ended up writing a book also on a RESTful API management or something like that. So Roy Fieldings, that's his. He's the author of HTTP spec. So when he found out how people are using his HTTP spec, he He cried pretty much. He felt sad. I have given you all of these HTTP methods for a reason, but you have taken it in a different way, and then you're using a HTTP post for everything. You want to delete something from the backend, you're using HTTP post, the SOAP. So that's where this representational state transfer or REST came into picture. So REST says that, hey, use the HTTP spec like how it's designed for. And the whole concept of hackable URLs came into picture. So anyways, in the resource-oriented architecture is that it's a noun. So let's say you have a microservice called person service. So this person service is responsible, this microservice is responsible for managing the persons. It will create the persons, it will update the persons, it will delete the persons, it will give you all the persons. Let's say you are working for a bank or an insurance company, quote service, or a loan service, or an application service. So each one is a microservice. It does only one thing and one thing so well. In your solid design principles, S stands for single responsibility principle. So it's essentially, that's microservice, right? Single responsibility. So it does only one thing and one thing so well. Anyways, the point is, see here, it's a persons. This is a noun. So if you want to /persons, persons in this case is a resource. So you will be creating the resource, you'll be updating the resource, you'll be deleting the resource, you'll be getting the resource. That's all around the resource-oriented architecture. So if you want to get all the persons from that persons microservice, then you will use /persons API, /persons, and you do a HTTP get. It will give you all the persons. If you're looking for a specific person with an ID, then you will use /persons /123. This 123 here is called path variable or path parameters. So here you are asking, if you make HTTP get on this, you are saying, give me the person with an identifier 123. This identifier is called path parameter or path variable. So if I make a /persons HTTP post, then my intention is, I'm trying to create a brand new customer. As part of my request payload, I'm giving the complete payload to create a brand new customer. Okay, and as part of the response from this HTTP post of /persons, I will get newly created persons identifier, which is 123. So if I want to delete a person with a specific identifier, /persons /123, and I'll do a delete, HTTP delete here. Okay. Now, if I do a /persons /123 HTTP put, then I'm updating person's details. Let's say I'm updating person's address. Okay, I can do that. Or person's first name, last name. So that's about persons, right? Now, if I want to get all the accounts of a specific persons, then I will use this API /persons /123/accounts. It will give me all the accounts of a person with ID 123. So understand where I'm going here. I'm going from broader to narrow. /persons is all the persons in the world. This persons API will give you all the persons. Of course, here you can put some query parameters there if you want your filtering and pagination, server-side pagination and all. Okay, here you can give /persons /count will give you count, and you can use your query parameters, question mark, page equal to 1, count equal to 100, then it'll give you 1 to 100, like that. Okay, it's all about REST taxonomy and REST semantics. Anyways, so I'm going from broader to narrow. So all the persons to a specific person to all the accounts of this particular persons. Let's say if I'm this gives me all the accounts of a person 123. If I want to get a single account, then I'm looking at /person /123/account/account ID, whatever that one is. So this is about person's resource. And if I want to go with the order microservice /order, again, the same thing, /account, same thing. Okay, that's a resource in your resource-oriented architecture. So now, when I create an API using AWS API Gateway right now, I will create a resource here. I will create probably a resource called weather. So /weather. Okay, so /weather, do a HTTP post, then I'm creating a new weather data there. So /weather / let's say if I give you a zip code, ideally /weather /zip code is not according to the REST semantics. In fact, not really. Maybe, no, I think that works fine, because /weather will give me the weather across all the zip codes. And if I want a specific zip code, then /weather /zip code, let's say 48083 /weather /48083 will give me a weather information in a specific zip code. Yeah, it works with REST semantics. So we will be creating a resource, and then we will be creating a method also, like HTTP GET post. We will be looking at HTTP GET here, but it's the same thing for post and put and other HTTP methods. And once you unit test your API, you can deploy it. When you deploy it, you have to ask, okay, what stage are you deploying it to? Meaning, what environment are you deploying this to? Are you deploying this to a dev environment, QA environment, stage environment, prod environment? That's called your deployment stage, like your dev, QA, stage, prod. So that's called stage. Okay. So with that, not a big deal. It's so let me go ahead and give you a demo. So even though it's API Gateway, so in my example, my API Gateway is going to trigger Lambda. So first I'm going to start with the Lambda. I wanted to show you how API Gateway will pass the complete request, an endpoint request, as is to a Lambda function. So I'm going to start the bottom up. So I'll start with a simple Node.js Lambda function. It will give you a hard-coded weather information. It doesn't matter every time you call the Lambda. It doesn't matter whether API Gateway called it or your unit test called it, your stubbed out request. It doesn't matter who calls it. Lambda works like a function. Later, we will have API Gateway trigger that particular Lambda. So we will create a Lambda function, unit test it, and just understand the semantics around it. And then we will create a new API. When we create new API, we'll create a new resource, new method, and unit test that API independently, trigger it. We will attach the Lambda to your API Gateway. After all of that, let's unit test it. Okay, and then yeah, let's test end to end. And then in the end, I'll talk about, how can I get these APIs in a custom domain? Okay. So without delay, let's go ahead and get started. That's a simple Node.js app. We will see that Node.js Lambda. And then we will get into the actual example. So we talked about Lambda that gets the data from S3 bucket, parses it, and saves into the database table. Now, we are going to write a different Lambda that will read the data from database and expose and gives you the weather information for a zip code that you asked for. It doesn't matter whether API Gateway triggers it to someone else. So that's how we're going to write the Lambda. We're going to unit test that Lambda to see if everything is good, and then deploy. And then we will create a API Gateway and have API Gateway trigger Lambda. Make sense? So let me show you a simple Node.js example. So I have my Lambdas here. Let me go ahead and create a new function. Author from scratch is fine. I'll call test API. I'll use Node.js. Create a new role with basic Lambda permissions. Sure. Let's create a new function. Let me show you my hard-coded information here. See here. This is my handler function. Essentially, I'm creating headers, content type application /JSON, and then I have a body.
Venkat, one interruption.
Absolutely.
That is that Node.js 12.x, that's the version, right? 12.x?
Yes, that's
okay.
correct. That's correct. So if you look at it, I have headers, content type application /JSON, and body, and putting some dummy information here, zip code and temperature. And I'm just returning a JavaScript object, JSON object here with the status code 200. And the body, I'm stringifying it, the body JSON object, and then I'm passing the headers. So any HTTP response will contain three things: your HTTP status code, headers, response headers, and body. That's all it is. My response headers has this content type application /JSON. That's all it is. It's a simple stubbed out stuff, right? So let's go here. In fact, by default, it gave that response, status code 200, body is JSON stringify, hello from Lambda. That's what it gave. I just kind of augmented a bit by putting zip code and temperature. So let me copy paste this guy here. Okay. And my basic settings, index.handler. Sure, it's index.js, and my function name is handler. Sure, this works. This works. I'm getting 128 meg. I will leave everything as is. I will save it. And let me test it. So I'm creating a brand new event, a test event. Okay. So what kind of event here? I want to configure test events. What kind of event do you want to create? I want to create an API gateway. API gateway AWS proxy. What this means is when API gateway gets a request from an end client, API gateway is acting as a proxy and gives the request as is to your Lambda function. How does that look? I click on it. Take a look at this one. So this is how a sample stubbed out request will look like. Take a look at it. So you have your, essentially, don't get scared by looking at all of this. Most of it, you don't have to worry about it. So when API gateway is acting as a proxy, when you make an API gateway, when you make an API call to your API gateway will forward this much JSON object. It will give all of this to your Lambda. Okay, in Lambda, you have your path parameters. We talked about it. You have your stage variables, your dev, QA stage, all of that. And all of your HTTP headers. It's giving you complete HTTP headers. And it's giving you what HTTP method was called, base64 encoded or not, any query string parameters. If you have any query string parameters, it gives you that. Okay. And what's the path to your API is, all of that. HTTP headers and request context, who called it, what resource, what stage, all of these details. Okay. So don't have to worry. Pretty much it's a stubbed out. You can change it. API gateway proxy. Okay. Click on create. And then let's go take a look at, see here, we are not even looking at what the event is, meaning we are not looking at what the request is. We are always giving you the stubbed out. It doesn't matter whether you give this much or give the complete, remove all of this, give an empty JSON object. It doesn't matter because we are not even looking at any of the stuff, right? So it doesn't matter what it is. Click on test. You will get the same details. You will get the status code 200, body zip code 48083, you have your hard-coded stuff, your headers. So it's the same stuff. Even if you delete this complete stuff, I'll just, you'll get the same response essentially. Okay, because we're not looking at it, but I will put it back. Because I'm going to show you something. Let's say this is the API I want to use it, guys. /weather. This is my /weather is my resource. This is one resource. And then /weather /zip code. My zip code is a path variable or path parameter. This kind of REST resource is called path variable or path parameter. So these path parameters are passed to your Lambda like this. You take a look at, see here, path parameters. So if you have, let's say you're expecting a path parameter called zip code. So zip code, and then you're sending it. You are sending 48083 as your path parameter for as a name zip code. Does that make sense? I'm sending it. This is a stubbed out request, right? So you will be able to get your path parameters. You will be able to get your path parameters in your node example. So here, once you get it, I will show you. See here, you can get your path parameters like this. You have your event. Event has path parameters. So event is a JavaScript object notation, JSON object. Inside the JSON object, you have path parameters. Let's take a look at it. Is that true? See this one? Inside the JavaScript object, if you want to get any of the query string parameters, you can call .query string parameters. And then let's say you are expecting, filter by. Okay, you can say filter by .query string parameters .filter by. You will get it. And here .path parameters .zip code. .path parameters .zip code. I'm getting the zip code. Okay, now if I pass like that, your node will get it. You can do it. You can get a console.log, save it, test it. You will see it here.
The event should be API Gateway, right?
What's that?
The event here. So the event is API Gateway, and then in that one, the parameter is you have the path parameters as a zip code or any other queries. Is that correct?
Yes.
So do we
go ahead. Finish your thought.
Do we indicate the event here because our exports.handler has event and content, so we need not indicate that event as API Gateway .zip code?
See, your event could be either API Gateway or your test event, or yesterday we talked about S3 event notification, right? It can be anything. But so everything, they made it so generic that event is nothing but your JSON object. Inside the JSON object, if it is API Gateway, if it is API Gateway's proxy, meaning your API Gateway is acting as a proxy, and proxy is giving the HTTP request payload as is to your Lambda. In that case, all the path parameters will be inside path parameters JSON object in the event. Does it make sense? We are simulating through this data. What we are doing is we are simulating, rather than at this point we didn't create an API using API Gateway, right? But we want to simulate our Lambda function. So how does my Lambda behave if it's called by API Gateway as a proxy? If API Gateway gives this payload, how would my Lambda behave is the thought. Does that make sense?
Yes. So, sorry, one more quick question.
Absolutely.
I don't want to hold you back. So here for any of these APIs, there will be only one event associated with that. Is that correct? So if I have test API, then you have API gateway proxy here. And if you have another weather API, you will have a specific gateway associated to one specific function. Is that correct? A function can have multiple gateways.
Sorry, what you're saying is, can my Lambda be associated with multiple events? Absolutely. So inside the event, right? So this event will give you what kind of event it is. If it is an S3 event, so if my Lambda is called by S3, or if my Lambda is triggered based on an event of an S3, if it's simple if else block, it is giving you completely. If it is coming from API gateway, do this. If it is coming from S3, do this. You can do anything. You can have one Lambda. One Lambda can serve across all the event triggers, if that makes sense. Or did I misunderstand your question?
Yes, I mean, yeah, I got it. So my original question was because we are defining here the functions, right? Test API is a function, a Lambda function, right?
Test API is a function. Let's talk about it. Which one is? Oh, this one here. Okay, this is a Lambda function. Yes, go ahead. This is a Lambda function, and understand that Lambda function can be triggered by anyone. Sure. Okay. Go ahead.
This Lambda function has certain events, right?
This Lambda function will be triggered based on any events. So we did not add any triggers yet. We created a function. We are unit testing it with a simulated event. That simulated event is an API gateway event. See, once I'm done with the unit testing, right? I'm done with unit testing. It's giving me the hard-coded value all the time. Very good. So click on add trigger. Now you can trigger it anything. API gateway. If you make an API gateway as a triggering point, now you define your API. And when somebody calls the API gateway, your Lambda function will be triggered, if that makes sense. Or you trigger, and let's say Alexa skills kit. So when somebody calls Alexa, what's the weather like? If you want to respond to that kind of event, then add that particular trigger. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we created just a function and we are unit testing it with a stubbed out request. I'm unit testing it with a fake event. That's all. I'm simulating rather than creating the function, assuming that it would work, and then I'll be all over. Now my next task will be to create an API by going to API gateway. Or I can add a trigger here and then go to API gateway, and then I don't have an API here yet. So I'll be creating an API. I can do that. I can do it from here, or I can do it from API gateway. But one way or the other, I will add a trigger as an API gateway. So API gateway will be a trigger to my Lambda function. So when somebody makes a call to API gateway, that API gateway will trigger my Lambda function. My Lambda function will give me this hard-coded zip code and temperature. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so this is it. Now what I will do is, since I've unit tested it, I'm getting a hard-coded response. My test API has been kind of thoroughly tested. Okay, I showed it to you how to take the, actually, if you really want to, people who are not familiar with Java, please play with this Node.js. It's a very, very, very simple way to experiment it. So see, Java is really verbose. So take a look at it. So you got your path parameters and zip code, right? So what you do is, let's say var zip code equal to, take the zip code as a path parameters. Okay. Now, if you want to understand if your zip code is, and of course you can have your Node.js function talk to your talk to the relational database. That is what ideally you should have done it. Okay. For that, actually, online editor is not enough. Then you'll have to bring out your Node, your JavaScript index.js outside to your local machine, and then play with it a bit, because you need a couple more libraries for that. Okay. So, but if you want to do a simple Node.js, simple stuff, you can say if zip code is 48083, then create one kind of body, otherwise else if, you know what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah, one question over here.
Mm-hmm.
So in the case of Java, for instance, you are compiling the code and uploading the dot jar file. Okay, but in the case,
Go ahead, finish your thought.
In the case of Node.js, if you had to write a complex code outside with some editor like Atom or something like that, then what would your compile unit be, or how would you really push it?
Oh, with this Node.js, you don't need any compiler.
Okay, you just
JavaScript
paste
code.
the source code here?
Yep.
Okay.
It's directly, okay.
Yeah.
So you can keep the, you can keep your temperature here. You can keep var temp, var temp, the default. You can put some, you understand what I'm saying here. I mean, it's a simple Node.js. I don't need to write some if else to show you that. Not a big deal. Okay. I wanted to show you guys. Control D works, by the way. Control D will delete the line like in your Eclipse. Okay. So anyways, my Lambda function has been, let's test one more time and make sure everything is good. Everything is good. My Lambda function is good. Now I have two ways to attach this API gateway. I can click on add trigger and go to API gateway and create an API, create REST API. Okay, this is one way to do it. Or let's go to services and then API gateway. API gateway. So this is an API gateway. Looks like I have test one API. Let's delete this guy. Okay, I deleted it. Now I have a test API here, right? I will call, see, when you come here, you can create a robust REST API, or you can create a simple HTTP API. I would like to create a robust REST API. So I'll click on build here. Create your first API. Sure. It's my REST API and I don't need an example API. If you have a Swagger, then you can actually put that stuff. It will automatically create it. That's the beauty. And it will, if you have a Swagger, you can bring it. It will create from the template, or you can, once you create the entire API, it will build your Swagger also. So I'll click on this new API. So it's a brand new test API. I'll call this test itself. And it's a regional endpoint. Yeah, sure. And I don't need an edge optimized. Edge optimized is your CloudFront. So once you click on my regional, it's in Ohio. This particular function, this particular API gateway is in Ohio region. Now / is my resources to start with. Okay. Now actions and then create a resource. So when should this be called? What is your resource be? I will call if somebody calls /test. Okay. If somebody calls, this is the resource path /test, then I want my API to be called. Okay. So this is a slash test is my resource. Again, in a resource oriented architecture, you have your slash persons like that. Now, if somebody calls a HTTP get on slash test, I want my Lambda function to be called. That's my goal. Actions, create a new method, create method, do a HTTP get. There you go. So what do you want to do? When somebody calls HTTP get on slash test, what do you want to do? I want to trigger my Lambda function and use Lambda proxy integration, meaning you are using your API gateway as a proxy and it will forward the HTTP request as is to your Lambda function. Select that and in the same region and keep typing, you will get a test API. This is your Lambda function. Our Lambda functions will appear automatically here. If you keep typing whether data load, see that? It's coming. But this is our API, test API, and use default timeout. Sure, save. There you go. Look at this graphical representation here. So your client is making a test API, which is your slash test one, okay? When this guy makes a HTTP get on slash test, okay? It goes to its your method request, meaning your API gateway takes it, and then your integration request, essentially your essentially your API gateway will take the complete HTTP request payload and pass it on as is to your Lambda. This will act as just as a proxy that will give it back to your Lambda. Your Lambda gets triggered and Lambda gives it back the response. Since it is proxy, it will give it as is. Okay, because you cannot transform your responses because it's proxy. But you can, if you want to mess with it, you can uncheck that box and you can mess with it. So this guy will give it back as is to it. Make sense? So click on this test function here and you'll be able to test it. So make a test call to your method with the provided input. So do you want to provide any query strings? If you want to provide any query strings, you can do it. Let's say, what do we want to do? City. If you want to do something like that, you can do that. So you're passing the query string, your question mark, your query string parameter equal to parameter value and all of your query string parameters. You guys know what the query string parameters are. Okay, if you want to provide any headers, you can provide it. In this case, I don't need to pass anything. I just wanted to show you. See, param1 equal to value 1 and param2 equal to value 2. Click on test. There you go. So you got the HTTP. You got your 502. Lambda execution failed with the status code 200 due to customer function cannot read property zip code of now. Did you see that? So cannot read property zip code of now. So that's why it blew. So because our Lambda, go to our Lambda here. Our Lambda is expecting the zip code as a path parameter. So it is failing here. Event dot path parameters. There is no path parameters and it's a now and you're trying to read a zip code from now. So this is where it failed. Okay, I can take this guy out because I'm not passing any path parameters anyway. But if I want to, I can show you even the path parameters, how they work, but I'll show you with the real example in a few minutes. Save it. And make sure your function still works. Sure. Now click on test again. There you go. You got response body. Your zip code is 48083 10pic 72F. It's a dummy response. Make sense? But this is a dummy response though. So we don't want dummy request, dummy response. We want the real stuff. Sure, we'll get to that in a few minutes. And then I'm going to show you the path parameters also. Actually, I can even show you right now the path parameters, how they work. So what I will do is in the API gateway /test, let me delete this method. Okay, so /test, and then let's say an additional resource. So /test/zip code, right? So I'll call a resource path is zip code. So if you give in the resource path, if you give these braces and put some your path variable name, then it expects if you pass /test/1234, your 1234 will be passed as a zip code. Okay. So this resource name, I will call this as a zip code itself. Take a look at this one, /test. So this is the top level resource, and then /test is another resource. Under that, you have a /zip code, meaning if you want to invoke this, you have to call /test/zip code. Let's say, let's do a HTTP GET on this resource. Create a method. Create method. Let's do a HTTP GET on it. There you go. So Lambda function, I want my test API to be called, my Lambda function, and use a proxy integration. And that's it. Pretty much save it. Let's go ahead and unit test our API gateway. We did not deploy our API gateway yet. We just, we are still unit testing it with the combination of API gateway and Lambda, how it's working. We did not deploy yet. And click on test. And see here, it is asking path parameter. What's the zip code that you want to give it? Let's say 12345. Click on test. You got the dummy response, right? Now you can enable this guy and then you can look at the console log. I'll save it. So now I'm printing the zip code here. I can put some if else clause here and say, if it is 12345, give this temperature and all, I can do that. You can test it. That's it. I got the response, but how do I know it's coming? Well, go to logs here. Go to your CloudWatch logs. Go to log groups and where is my test API? This guy. The latest one. See here, zip code is 12345. That's the piece of code that we wrote here. See here, zip code is. So your zip code has been passed by your API gateway to your Lambda as a path parameter, and your Lambda function has taken the path parameters from your event JSON object, and inside that you have another JSON object called path parameters. Inside that, you whatever the path parameter, the path variable that you're looking for. Make sense? Now I'm pretty happy with my API gateway, the unit testing part. Now I can go ahead and deploy this guy. I'm pretty happy with this test API. It's I have this test API. I can call /test/zip code, and it's calling my Node.js based API. The reason I'm spending this much time on the Node.js is because people who are not familiar with Java, they should do this one. Okay, and you can write some if-else conditions here and mess with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and deploy this API. Actions, click on deploy API. And where do you want to deploy? Well, what stage do you want to deploy? Well, I want to deploy this in dev environment. Okay, /dev. Let's say I have 4 different stages, dev, QA, stage, prod. Okay, I'm doing it in dev. Deploy it. Once you deploy it, see here, it gave you an invoke URL here. So it gave you some random alphanumeric stuff, .execute-api, your region, amazonaws.com / your stage environment. So click on this guy. See, it's a missing authentication token because this is your home directory, meaning it's your home / right? But our API is /test/zip code, right? So let's call this guy as /test. /12376, enter. There you go. This is an API. I got this an API, and I got zip code 48083, temp is 72F, because when I call this API as an end customer, when I make an API call, you can do the same thing with your Postman. It's a HTTP GET, you can use your browser. So when I made a call, it went to my API gateway. My API gateway has taken the request. It has taken the path variable here because there is an API defined like this. This is my stage variable, dev. So under dev, I have a /test/zip code, and it passed my 12376 as a path variable. It passed the complete HTTP request payload to my Lambda, because Lambda is what triggering point here. Okay, and my Lambda that is written in Node.js took the request pretty much here, and it took the path parameter zip code, and then gave this dummy body, dummy HTTP status code, dummy body, dummy headers. It gave it back. Does that make sense? We will complicate the things now. We will actually take a look at the Java example right now. What we'll do is we'll do exactly same /weather whatever the zip code, and what our Java code does is it will connect to the database, the relational database in which we have the database table and all the data. The data was populated by a different Lambda function by reading the data from S3 bucket and loading into it. Now this weather API, when we make a call, it will go to our API gateway. API gateway will call Lambda. Our Java-based Lambda will connect to the relational database and get the data from the database table and give it back. Any questions? Let me pause it here. Does it make sense? Is everyone able to follow? Go ahead, someone was speaking.
Actually, Venkat, like this API calls, right? Like, do they charge here, like the AWS?
Absolutely. They charge. It's your Lambda functions, your free tier Lambda functions. If I'm not wrong, 1 million Lambda functions are free. Lambda, AWS Lambda, free tier. You get how many requests? It used to be 1 million requests free. 1 million free requests per month. Okay, the AWS Lambda free usage tier includes 1 million free requests per month. Okay, yes, API Gateway also charges per request, but it's a very minimal. And your Lambda will give you 1 million free requests. So that's why, please, if you have a great idea for your either mobile backend, mobile API or the complete mobile application, or your website, if you have some great ideas, so please start with serverless. Okay, don't start with the EC2 and all. They're giving 1 million Lambda requests per month. So a lot of big companies are actually, they're going serverless, and a lot of startups actually, they were using AWS free tier account, and they didn't have to charge for for the first 1 year. Seriously, big ones also. So you guys know that what's that? Vacation rental what is that? VRBO, or did I mess it up?
BNB, Airbnb.
Yeah, our vacation rental for VROB. There is a website, right? I'm messing up. A very popular one. All of them. Your complete your Lyft, Uber like websites. those apps completely. They have an idea. That's all. They didn't put a single dollar as an upfront infrastructure. They are using AWS like cloud providers. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to complicate the things now. If you guys don't have any questions, what I'm doing is that let's create a new Lambda function. It's a Java-based Lambda function. That Lambda function is going to read the temp lookup from our database table that we created previously. So we have these 10 zip codes here, right? So what we will do is I have code here. Let me close this guy. So I have this Java-based project called API Gateway Event Handler 1. It's there in GitHub. So go to API Gateway Event Handler. So let's take a look at briefly POM XML. AWS Lambda Java Core is the only one that you need, or you can use AWS Lambda Java Events also. So of course, this S3, if you need anything, I don't think we need S3 in this case. Probably it's a copy paste. It's sitting out there. But essentially, once you have your POM, so your class implements your request handler, as we know that. But this time, a request handler is taking this guy as an input, API Gateway Proxy Request Event. So the entire request payload, your API gateway is acting as a proxy. It takes the request, and the entire request payload, it will create your JSON object, right? That JSON object will be converted into this Java object here. What I mean by that is, see here, this entire JavaScript object notation, JSON object here completely, this guy will be represented here, API Gateway Proxy Request Event. And from this one, you will be able to get path parameters. So request dot get path parameters dot get. So you are expecting a path parameter called zip code. So this guy will respond to anyone, any API. It doesn't matter whether it's called by my API gateway or somewhere else. As long as you give me the path parameters object, and within that you give me the zip code, then I will respond to it. I will take the zip code, I'm logging it, and then I'm calling this a simple repo.weather repository get weather from, doing a simple select query there, weather.temp lookup where zip equal to, and I'm getting set temp set zip code. It's that simple. And then once I get the response back, the weather object, and I'm using Google's JSON to convert that into JSON response. Okay, my weather object, Java object, I'm converting into JSON response. So I got the response body in the form of string now. This is a complete JSON response. I'm printing it, and then I'm creating this headers. Content type is application/JSON, and essentially, what's my response here? API Gateway Proxy Response Event. My response, I'm setting the body, whatever the JSON I got it, my headers I put it, and the status code I put it as 200, and then giving the response back. My Lambda is giving the response back to API Gateway, and API Gateway will give it back to the client. Everything is good, except these 3 lines. So I didn't talk about these 3 lines. So what this 3 lines does is, maybe wait for the example to kind of, wait for it to come up. Essentially what I'm doing is that I'm allowing a CORS, CORS, cross origin resource sharing. So essentially my API can be called from other websites also. That is what I'm doing here. I can call, my API can be called by any origins. That's all I'm doing. my API can be called by any origins. So with these headers, I'm saying that, yes, it doesn't have to be exact. My website and my API doesn't have to be exactly same. Anybody can call it. Anybody from any website can call my API is what we are saying. That's all it is. Okay. So what we'll do is, without delay, let's go ahead and build the jar file. Once I build the jar file, let's go ahead and go to Lambda functions. Let's create a function, and I will call this one as weather API. This is a true weather API, and Java runtime. Sure, create a new role with basic Lambda permissions. I'm fine with this. Okay. So I'll go to function code. Let's see if it's, yep, my jar file has been built. Upload zip jar AWS API Gateway event handler 1 target on this 19 meg jar file. Save it. So it will be uploaded, and then we will go and change the fully qualified class name. So what's my package name is, so this is my fully qualified class name. So I'll copy this guy. I'll copy this guy. You need fully qualified class name. Go to basic settings, edit. This is my fully qualified class name, handle request, save it. Well, that's all. I need 512 meg. This is good, this is good, this is good. All of this, I'm not touching it. I don't need to at this point. So let's go ahead and test it. Let's unit test our API. Okay. Configure test events, and I want API Gateway proxy, AWS proxy. And here I'm going to pass the path parameters, because we are expecting a path parameters as zip code, right? So I will pass path parameters as zip code, and I will pass some zip code that exists in my database. I will use 80013, 80013. Then it takes this guy, this zip code, API Gateway or whatever. You can give any your name, it doesn't matter. Let's unit test this guy. It's going to the database, getting the stuff. This is not dummy anymore. See, I'm giving a status code as 200, headers as all of these headers, and my body is zip code 80013, temperature is 51 degrees. Is that true? Yes. So now you can check this one, 76543. 76543. I'm giving a dummy 76543. Save it, and I should be getting 12 degrees F. There you go. So it went to the database and got it. And if you really look at it, first time it takes time, because it's your code, a new micro container gets created under the hood, and then it deploys your code and then bring it to warm state. But once it is up, then you can keep testing it. It's pretty fast. Make sense? So you got this in 130 milliseconds. So wonderful. So I've unit tested it. I'm pretty happy with my API, weather API, Lambda function, right? It's a Java 8 runtime. So let's go to now API Gateway. So let's go to API Gateway. We have test API here. We can leave the test API. Let's go and create a new API. And I'm calling this, I'm coming to REST API here. And this one I'm calling get REST new API, and I'll call this guy as weather API. It's a regional API gateway, and my endpoint is going to look like /weather/zip code. So I will call my initial resources slash weather. See this one? Now resource path is slash weather. So when somebody calls slash weather, they can come here. I can do a HTTP get here, meaning when somebody calls slash weather HTTP get, I can hook that API to a different Lambda function that gives all the that gives the temperature across all the zip codes. I can do that, but my intention is to do a specific zip code. So let's go ahead and create a new resource under slash weather. I'm creating a new resource, and I always go to resource path and then give zip code. Is that the zip code? Make sure your this one is correct. This is a path parameter you're expecting your code. So make sure this is correct. And your resource name, you can give anything, but I'll give something useful. Zip code. Create. So if somebody wants to call this guy slash weather slash zip code, and now let's do a HTTP get. That's it. So I want to call my Lambda function, and yes, it's a proxy integration. So because I'm not planning on messing with my response, weather API, USC is 2. Yes, it's all good. Let's unit test our API gateway. Very good. My client calls it and it goes to the method request, integration request. My proxy will take it and give it to the Lambda function. My Lambda function will internally go to the database table and gets the temperature for your zip code and give it back to the client on the way back. Let's click on test. Let's unit test it. Let's give some zip code here. Where is my zip database? Let's say 87654. Did we test that? 87654. 87654. Zip code. Test it. My response is 87654, 12 degrees F. Yes, works. 12356. 12356. 18 degrees C. Beautiful. 48083. 23. 48083. It should get 23F. Yeah, it matches. So my API gateway has been triggered. API gateway triggered Lambda function. Lambda, my Java-based Lambda code sitting in a micro container, which we don't have to worry about it. That actually went to the database table, relational database. It's an RDS, MySQL, queried the data and giving it back in this format. Make sense? Now I'm pretty happy with my API. So let's go ahead and deploy this guy. Actions, deploy the API, and I want to deploy this to QA environment. This particular API I'm deploying directly to QA. Okay, stage name, it doesn't matter. It's just a stage name, and it gives me an API. So if you're happy with this API URL, see here, it's some alphanumeric .execute API .region name .amazon.aws.com/your QA. QA is your stage variable. Okay. So, oh, by the way, you can throttle your APIs here. What's your rate? 10,000 requests per second is the maximum throttle. And you can look at the logs. You can enable tracing using X-ray service. You can do all of that. You can define your new stage variables. You can define your dev QA stage prod. You can do all of that. And for your API, you can generate your SDKs also. Okay. You will say that if you say Java SDK, it will automatically going to build your client jars. Okay. And iOS, you can do it, any of these platforms that it supports. And then if you want your Swagger APIs, you just simple, just pretty much your Swagger is done. See how simple this one is. And you can definitely import this guy into another API gateway. See, your documentation is readily available. So this is your invoke URL. Click on this URL And then again, obviously, this is your slash, right? But what's our real API? Slash weather slash zip code slash weather slash zip code 12356. 12356 is 12356 is 18 degrees C. Very good. 15 2 to 1. 15 2 to 1. 55, yeah. And if you give something that doesn't exist, you got an internal server error. You did not handle, I mean, I did not handle properly. Ideally, we should handle properly, you know, with appropriate status code. Make sense? So you can check 10408. 10408. There you go. 63 degrees F. Yep, got it.
Hey, Venkat.
Yes.
Can we change the URL to like venkatweather.com kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. We'll get there. We'll get there. Give me a couple of minutes. That's the next topic. So this is, if you're happy with this URL, with this URL link, you can share it with the world, and you can go ahead and test it from your workstations. Absolutely. This is this should be, you know, it's readily available from any place. My API, my API gateway, and 2 Lambda is readily available for testing. Okay. This is all beautiful. This is all beautiful. Now, as Manohar started already, I don't like this URL. I already have a website that I own that's called nextsteptraining.com. So this is my requirement here, okay? So nextsteptraining.com is my website. It's a static website based on S3. Make sense? This is a static website based on S3. This is, let's say it's an Angular based website. I know it is not Angularized yet, but you got it. Okay, it's a static website. Yeah. Static website based on S3. Now, what I want to do is I want to separate my website to a website. I want to separate my APIs from my website using a subdomain, meaning I want to do api.nextsteptraining.com. I want this one to be pointed to my API gateway. I want my api.nextsteptraining.com to be pointed to API gateway. I want my regular nextsteptraining.com to be pointed to my static website. So this is an Angular based website. We'll have just HTML, CSS, JavaScript and all. But when I click on any button, so if I enter my zip code there and click on a button, that should call an API. But that API, I mean, this definitely I can call it, but I don't want that. I want to expose because it's not just for my website. I want to sell this to other people and I want to market it. So I want my clients to call this one api.nextsteptraining.com/weather/zip code, whatever this one is. I want to respond to this one. Make sense? This is what I should do. How can I do that? Well, let's do that. So here, there is a concept within API's API gateway. You have a concept of custom domain names. Since I already own, let's go to Route 53 for a quick second here. I have a one hosted zone. Nextsteptraining.com, I already own it. And my A record is pointing to my S3 static website. So I already have nextsteptraining.com pointing to my S3 static website. Make sense? I already have it, but I don't have a subdomain with api.nextsteptraining.com. So let's go ahead and create this. Let's go ahead and create this subdomain. How do I do that? Go to API gateway, click on custom domain name. Since I own my nextsteptraining.com, I can create a new subdomain. I can call it api.your domain name. It has to be your domain name because you have to prove that you own this guy. You have to prove, only then it works. I can't say that api.google.com. I have to prove it, right? So there is a proving process also. api.nextsteptraining.com, endpoint type is regional. And see here, minimum TLS version. I want to use TLS 1.2, or I can also use 1.0, but I want to use 1.2. But I do not have a certificates currently. I don't have an SSL certificate, and this custom domain name works only with SSL, HTTPS or TLS, right? So it doesn't work with the plain HTTP. So that's why first let's go and get a certificate for our website. Okay. I know this is my domain name, api.nextsteptraining.com. So what I will do is, let's go to services and then set ACM, AWS Certificate Manager, or I can call this Certificate Manager. This one is called ACM, AWS Certificate Manager. Okay. So I don't have any certificate. Let's go ahead and provision a certificate. I'm in Ohio region. Let's go ahead and provision a new certificate. Request a public certificate. Yes, I want a public certificate. Request a certificate. There is a little bit of price involved here, but I highly recommend you do that, because as soon as once you play with all of these concepts, then you can delete it. You'll be paying a few cents once you are able to delete it. Okay. So my domain name is api.nextsteptraining.com. If I want, I can add an additional name also, something like star.nextsteptraining.com. I can do that, meaning any subdomain, you can use this certificate. Since I don't have a need for that, I'm not doing it. But for now, I need api.nextsteptraining.com. I can even do star.nextsteptraining.com also. It works. Click on next. And then how do you prove that nextsteptraining.com is owned by you? You can do this verification in two ways. One is DNS validation. The other one is email validation. With the DNS validation, they will ask you to put a small record, DNS record, in your Route 53 or your favorite, GoDaddy DNS zone editor, right? So you just put it, and they will call it. They will verify it. It takes a couple of minutes. It takes 5 minutes or so. So click on DNS validation, click on next. I don't need any tags. Review. Yep, confirm and request. Let's go and request it. Validation. So what they're saying is, either you manually do it or automatically, one way or the other, put this guy into Route 53. Currently, Route 53 has 3 records here, right? For me. So they're asking us to put this CNAME, this junk.api.nextsteptraining.com. They will verify it, essentially, whether you have that record or not. Okay. What I'm saying is, I'll click on this button, create record in Route 53. I can copy paste and put it in, create a record myself, or I'll use this simple utility here. I'll click on this guy. This record will be created. Create. Yep. Now let's go refresh it here. There must be a new record here. There you go. New record has been added. And now it takes up to a few minutes to validate it. It's in pending validation mode. Once the certificate validation is done, then we can go to our API Gateway and then start creating the custom domain name api.nextsteptraining.com. So let's wait for this guy to come up. And meanwhile, while this is coming up, I will go change it because I don't need Lambdas anymore. I will go to API Gateway.
So Venkat, one question. So it will be always C record. There is no option to select alias like that.
Can you, one second, one second. So what you are saying is, this record, it must be a CNAME record. Yes. So this is a type is CNAME, right? You have your A record, you have within A record, you have, alias to A record, right? Alias to A records and CNAMEs are pretty much around the same. This is like having your symlink, right? Symbolic link. Mm-hmm. So this is how Amazon validates it. So let's say I will give you some context there. Let's say you're using Google Apps for Business. There is a concept called Google Apps for Business. Let's say you want to use Gmail for your corporate email service, Google Docs for your Gmail, right? So you can do that. So what they will say is, again, it's the same verification. They will ask you to create a specific record because that is how their system validates it. Does it make sense? What they will do is, behind the scenes, they will keep looking. Give me all the DNS records for this guy. Okay, they will keep looking. DNS records, DNS records, look up some, you can use some tool here, and then they'll keep looking all the DNS records here. This is your A record, and okay, actually it is only giving A record, right? But what they will do is they will get the complete all the records, okay, and then they know what they provided to you, right? They will make sure that that matches with what they generated it. It's your they generate some number and send it to your phone, Madhavi, right? And make sure that please enter that secondary verification, right? It's exactly the same thing. So they do it based on this CNAME, if it makes sense. Yeah, but if you want to do it, if you are building something like this, your own, absolutely, you can definitely, you can say TXT record. There is a record called TXT record. Google actually uses text record, TXT records. Okay, that's how you can verify it. It's all up to you. This is what AWS has chosen, if it makes sense.
Okay.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So your certificate has been issued. It's a validation has been done because it matched with your with whatever it provided. Let's go to API Gateway. Let's custom domain name, and let's create a new custom domain name. I'm calling this as api.nextsteptraining.com. Regional TLS 1.2. Now it showed up. My certificate, api.nextsteptraining.com certificate showed up. Create it. Very good. So now my api.nextsteptraining.com is available. Okay, meaning my API gateway custom domain has been created. Now I need to map this one, right? When somebody comes here, where should I forward these requests to? Well, click on API mappings, configure an API mapping, add new mapping, pick your weather API and stage QA and path. So do you have any, do you want certain suffixes to go into this one? No, for me, slash is what it is, meaning every single request that's coming to api.nextsteptraining.com should be taken by my weather API. That is my requirement. Does it make sense? So once it makes sense, now I got this api.nextsteptraining.com, very good. But now, if I try going to api.nextsteptraining.com/weather/12356, if I try doing that, it will not work because there is no corresponding DNS entry. So let's update our Route 53. That's the last step. So let's update our Route 53. So let's go to Route 53 and we have 4 records here. Your A record is for nextsteptraining.com. Let's create a new record here, simple record, and define a simple record, api.nextsteptraining.com. And I want to send this to API Gateway, alias to API Gateway. Choose region, Ohio region. And yep, this is what is showing up. Okay. And when somebody calls api.nextsteptraining.com, then I want to forward to my API gateway. So all I'm saying in the record type is a record. Create records. That's it. My api.nextsteptraining.com has been created. If you want, you can check your DNS checker, DNS propagation checker, and see if it may take some time, but it's slowly coming up. Some came up, some did not. So you just wait for some time but it should be coming up. So once that is all done, now this guy is pointed to your API gateway, which is pointed to your weather API, which is actually, this is a real API gateway API, which triggers your Lambda. The Lambda will go to database, gets the response back and give it back to the API gateway. API gateway will give you back the response. So now we can try going to, I'll open a new API dot nextsteptraining.com/weather, right? That's our API, I believe. Let's go to APIs, this guy, /weather/zip code 12356, I believe. Because I've used HTTP, because let's use HTTPS:// because API.nextsteptraining.com. There you go. See that? HTTPS, and my zip code is 12356, temp is 18 degrees. So now first request has taken time because my Lambda function has gone cold. Now it's in warm state for 5 minutes. After that, it goes back to the cold state. So when you come back after that, your code will be redeployed. Okay, and that is why it takes a little bit of time. But now it doesn't take that much time. You can take a look at your function F12. You can keep requesting it. You will know. Okay, so this is your response. This is your response. Yep, you got HTTP GET. You did a HTTP GET to api.nextsteptraining.com/weather/48083. You got HTTP status code 200. You got the response of this one. All good. Make sense? Now you just plug this guy with your static website, with your real nextsteptraining.com. It's that simple, right? So you have your website and this is your API. This is where all of your APIs will live. This is where all the APIs will live. Let's say you have 10 APIs. Let's say you have /weather API, /person API, /order API, something like this. Okay. Let's say these are all different APIs pointing to different microservices, right? So what you can do is you can define your custom domain names in your custom domain names. See here, you can provide your appropriate mapping, meaning take /path, /order to, one API, /weather to another API, /person to another API. You can do that. Okay, with that said, now what we will do is, the final step here is that let's go to the nextsteptraining.com, the actual static website. Okay, so this is how I created it. See here, I have my index.html here. Let me open the code. So it's a simple HTML and JavaScript, and probably nobody has written this simple code in the recent days, especially with the new JavaScript frameworks and all. But I wanted to show you without any fanciness. So when you come up here, all I'm saying is welcome to my weather website. This is my index.html that is sitting in S3 bucket as a static website hosting. I'm saying welcome to my weather website. Please enter your zip code and click on get weather button. So enter your zip code and click on get weather. So what I'm doing is there is a hidden H1 with nothing there. Okay. with this ID weather response. When you click on this button, I'm calling this JavaScript function get weather. So I'm getting the whatever has been inputted. I'm getting the zip, and this is my URL, api.nextsteptraining.com/weather/zip code. I'm passing the zip code. This is the URL, and I'm calling in a very, very, very old school fashion using this XML HTTP request. That's why I'm saying nobody has written this raw JavaScript code probably in this decade, because there are 100 fancy tools out there to make this life easy, right? Things like, start with jQuery. At least even if I could have used jQuery, I didn't use jQuery also, but you get the point. Or I can actually fancify this one using Angular. Build your static website using Angular. Upload all of that to your S3 static website, and then make your API calls to your API gateway. And that's your serverless website. It's that simple, right? So anyways, I got the zip code. I'm attaching this to the URL, and I'm making a simple HTTP GET call, and I'm getting the response text. Once I get the response, I'm parsing that into a JSON object. I get the JSON object, and from the JSON object, I'm taking that temp, right? Where is that guy? Temp. So I'm taking this temp. I'm taking that temp. I got the temp, and now once I get the temp, I'm getting the document.getElementById. I'm getting this h1, and then I'm doing this inner HTML. So I'm dynamically adding this inner HTML. Temperature in your area is, and then whatever the temp. That's all I'm doing. Okay. So this is my index.html. I have uploaded it. I can upload it actually right now. I can go to S3. Let me go to S3. This is my nextsteptraining.com. Oops. Yeah, nextsteptraining.com. And this is my index.html, right? So I'll upload my index.html. Upload. And what I will do is now I will go to my next step nextsteptraining.com function F12. Let me observe the network and source and everything. Networktraining.com. Sure, everything is sweet so far. This is my sources. Very good. This is my HTML page. I got it. This is my network section, and I clear it. I'll give my some web 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. There is a H1 hidden here, right? So I'm dynamically using HTML. I'm using Ajax, and temperature in your area is 18 degrees C. So this is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Sure. Let's go to network. There you go. Oops, sorry. /12356. This is my request. Rent HTTP get 200, and where is my response? Yep.
After preview, yeah. There is a response, right?
Let me look at it. Yep, there you go. I got my response here, and I took the temperature and showing it in this one. And my end user experience is essentially it's a dynamic website. I have my static website in a S3 bucket, and I'm giving my zip code and I'm changing it, and I can take anything, 55108, 55108, enter, 16 degrees F. Yep, it matches to my, yeah, it matches. So now, that's all I got. All you need to do is make it a fancy website. Make it a fancy website using Angular, and make your website as fancy as possible. You know, Angular, and use your TypeScript. That's where you code using TypeScript. Transpile your Angular stuff. When you transpile it, you'll get the complete raw JavaScript, and JavaScript, HTML, your CSS, everything, all of that. Upload it into using your AWS CLI or some other tool. You upload it into S3, the static website, and your website is fancier. And then for all the dynamic stuff, make a REST calls, get the dynamic stuff, and make your website fancier. This is your serverless websites, right? So your static website hosting, your static website hosting on S3 to, you know, all the REST calls are going to API Gateway, which is triggering Lambda. Lambda is going to the database, get the data, and echo back to my site. The only point here is this is not HTTPS. It's not secure. You can make it. Static website hosting on S3, the only way you can attach the certificate is through CloudFront CDN. So you have to use CloudFront CDN to do that. Okay. So other than that, you're pretty much combining everything. All the concepts.
So how does this qualifiers and the actions, like in the Lambda functions, we had 2 buttons there, right? Apart from throttle, how do we use them along with these functions?
Let me, I don't think I understood your point. Can you say that again? You want me to go to Lambda?
Yeah.
And then, okay.
Take any creating functions, right? We create one Lambda function, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we go ahead and then we start the process like creating Node.js and then go to the create functions.
Okay.
Then I see 2 buttons, that is qualifiers and actions. How do we use them? Yeah, give some, I mean, you can open the already created one. Yeah, that should be fine, I think.
Yeah, sure. Let's create the guy. Does it make sense, guys? Everyone? So we kind of covered, you know, end to end from S3 static website hosting to dynamic site, you know, all the way. Go ahead. Oh, this guy here.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can use like how you are using versioning with your APIs. You can use your Lambdas also. You can version it. So you can qualify each version saying, okay, this is Weather API Lambda function 1.0. Okay, and then you can upgrade it Weather API 2.0. So you can create the same function with multiple versions of the same Lambda function. So you can have that triggered.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So that's how you make the serverless website. And yeah, let me stop there.